Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a proud privilege to NITIE to have this program on student enterprises workshop for faculty members. It's a coincidence. I think we got all programs on faculty members, it seems. The next door we have a KV school principals training program is also going on. All throughout it's all faculty development programs. Educators program.
Teachers Day.
Teachers Day. And somebody called me and said that this is Vivekananda's birthday today.
Yes, that's right.
The most auspicious day to start this kind of program. It was very good.
And it's Youth Day.
Yeah. Without taking further time on this, let me take the privilege of inviting the two illustrious personalities on the dais, Dr. Y.K. Bush, Dr. Hawley, Director, NITIE. Both of them don't require any great introduction like that because they are known, they are established. They are grand old men. No, I think they are young men that way.
Old is better now.
They are much young, they smile, they always young, energetic and agile. It's also better befitting for us that two different personalities from, although related to education, they bring into different aspects. One is in Delhi, one is in Mumbai. One is a government person, one is much more to academical institutions. We felt that entrepreneurship education requires this kind of a blend of both. And hence, we had the benefit of, we are having the benefit of having the two personalities here. I'll make a brief one or two points regarding the center which we are having here at, and open up the program for the guest of honor and also the chairperson. Center for Student Enterprises is something innovative which we have started here at. It's the commitment of NITIE leadership. It's the vision and also mission of NITIE leadership in terms of nurturing learning environment that made us to apply for a project. I wish to note to you all that this was the first of the project. My director, Dr. Ravli, has signed for it and sent for the Delhi, and within 2 years, February 2007, I think, sir, we have sent a proposal, and by February 2009, it already took a shape. It is already spreading its wings all across the country. A novel way we are trying to solve the puzzle of entrepreneurship education, where entrepreneurship should become part of mainstream curriculum, something which nowhere it has happened. We don't teach entrepreneurship, we would like to say very clearly. We don't have any courses, but we inculcate entrepreneurship through the programs like Hamara Danda, Mandi, NITIE Dabawalas, very crazy names which we have branded them for some time. Hamara Danda program has taken real insight, roots, and its impact is already being shown. Some of the students who are in the economy downtown are not being bothered about the downtown. They feel that we can do it because we are running companies at this stage. We believe very clearly, बेहतर पढ़ाई के लिए कमाई, आज का रोटी आज ही कमाएंगे, सर उठाकर सीखेंगे, with pride, learning with pride actually, learning with fun, learning with games, learning with many things which are being taught, but learning with pride, something which an enterprising educational methodology and pedagogy which we are trying to look for that. So, the program tries to bring in around 12 faculty from different institutions, from Hyderabad, Bangalore, Dharwad, Indore, Belgaum, different places. And they're all looking for how to make it happen, how to make it simple, how to carry this to this entrepreneurship education into the masses, into youth, into BA, become BSc kind of colleges. We always see entrepreneurship education associated with the B schools. Actually, just the Professor Bush was mentioning, saying that entrepreneurship education was not so popular with MBA schools actually. They were saying there are IMs also, for example. But techie schools or engineering schools were more popular. There's a need to take this education to the BA, become BSc, even for that matter. Maybe even arts, maybe even philosophy and sociology. Kind of. Our target is 1.4 crore graduates in this country where they all can work, they all can earn, they all can make enterprising part of their mainstream studies, and yet they can do wonderful educational impact. How to do that? How to reach this 1.4 crore graduates in this country? What kind of solution is required for that? Our center in terms of student enterprises, Hamadana and Mandi, we are striving for that stuff. We look forward for your experience and wisdom on giving us some direction wherein we'll also take a few more steps in this direction. I welcome you all, and I'm sure it will be a wonderful interaction with that. At the end of the program, probably we can have around 10-15 minutes, some kind of interaction where if you got some questions after the deliberation, depending upon the time of the speakers here. With these few words, sir, I invite the program to open, and I require your support. Thank you very much for that, sir.
Makes noise when doing it. Otherwise it is present.
I hand over the floor to Professor Mandi to introduce the guests and then take the
Thanks, Dr. Prasad, for inviting me to introduce the guests. And thank him especially for the reason that it's very rarely you get an opportunity of introducing to you, to the audience, a towering personality. And when it comes to introducing two towering personalities in business education, it's icing on the cake. And that's the reason I'm thanking Dr. Prasad for giving me this opportunity. Well, first of all, let me start with the chief guest, Dr. Y.K. Bhushan. He, in fact, has the experience perhaps more than the age of many of us. He is in the business education for more than 5 decades. It's precisely 52 years that he was talking about. And what's surprising is that I would say that he is so many years young. The reason is quite simple. I had seen him say 20 years back when he was the president of AIMS. The youthfulness and the spirit that he used to exude then, perhaps it has gone an inch forward rather than coming backward. The AIMS conferences which we used to have then in Calcutta and under his leadership with Abad Ahmed and Rafiq Khurana and other friends of his circle, they were really a treat to be part of. Let me come to the formal introduction part of it. As far as the academics is concerned, he is a product of Delhi University. He has done his master's in commerce there, and after that, as a Fulbright scholar, he went to the United States, where he did his master's in management. After coming back, he also did some of the courses in research methodology from premier institutions. He taught at Delhi University. He also taught at one of the well-known institutes in India, that's Sri Ram College. After that, he was also associated with the banking education. He was elevated to the rank of Assistant General Manager in Central Bank. After that, for 16 long years, he was at the General Affairs of Narsimonji Institute. And it was during his tenure that the institute could reach many heights. The various linkages and the ties that took place during that period with the overseas universities and institutions, the major credit has to go to him. Besides that, he has been very active in the professional forums as well. As I said, he was the past president of Association of Indian Management Schools. In fact, he was a founder member. He is also a past president of AMDISA and ISTD. He has widely traveled. He has delivered various lectures on various issues of leadership, entrepreneurship, and management-related programs. He has this 52 years of long experience, and it's this experience, with his youthfulness and his ideas, we are looking at him as our mentor, as our guide, as our philosopher. I request Dr. Prasad, I request the director of our institute, Dr. Avle, to felicitate him, because at his age, with the kind of experience that he has, it requires applause from all of us present over here.
My dear and esteemed colleague, Professor Avle, Professor Prasad, the dynamic prime mover of the entrepreneurship development movement in this institution, Professor Dume, and dear friends from the teaching fraternity. Day in and day out, I'm reminded of the years that I've spent in education. And I also keep an account of the years I've spent in life. Just about 74 by now. But the desire and the will to live and do something grows stronger every day. And that's what has kept me going, in spite of the fact that yesterday was a significant rebirth day for me, because I celebrated 20 years of my bypass surgery. That happened in 1989, on the 11th of Jan. And I therefore thought that instead of sitting down and talking, and I'm very bad at that, I'll stand and talk to you. Still not talk at you, fortunately there is no platform here. Because standing, my diaphragm expands better. Sitting, it doesn't. And in order to be able to speak, you do need your diaphragm. I also keep testing my own legs to check out how strong they are and how long they will last me. So far they haven't let me down, and therefore I take the liberty of standing and talking to you this afternoon. The mention about entrepreneurship here at the NITIE and at each one of your institutions here puts me back down the memory lane. And I go back again almost about 20-25 years. Everything runs into long years with me. When at Nasimunji, the bug did bite me. I thought that management schools need to do something about developing entrepreneurs, moving them from what we call job seeking to job creation. And I went out in search of an institution which functioned like a nursery of entrepreneurs in UK, thanks to British Council. And I ran into this beautiful place, the beautiful cradle of entrepreneurship called the Stirling University in Scotland, where they had a unique institution called the Scottish Enterprise Foundation. And I fell for it, love at first sight. And I decided that on behalf of NMIMS, I shall establish a link with Stirling, which in many ways has lasted till now, although formally we don't have that association. But informally, we have carried on, and many of the friendships that we formed at that time, it's not easy with the British, still last till this day. But this link that we established was used by us for a specific purpose. The question was where to start. And we made some attempts at getting MBAs into the game, but somehow placements at that time were so good that they wouldn't think of setting up on their own. Many of them did become entrepreneurs, and pretty successful ones at that, after learning at the cost of others for something like about 4 to 5 years. And that, I understood later, was also the pattern in world's leading schools like Harvard, where they don't immediately become entrepreneurs, but think of setting up on their own after working with good companies for about 4 to 5 years. And therefore, to make a beginning in this area of entrepreneurship development, we chose a segment, a niche segment in a way, which was not the MBA segment, but from which I thought the MBA segment could perhaps get a rub off. And we started with our program called Women in Enterprise. You talk about students in enterprise today. We talked about women in enterprise at that time. And we wondered what kind of women could be interested in entrepreneurship, not only because we wanted to make a start there, but because of the impact that it will create in the society. There was a very rich class who would anyway get into business whenever they liked. There were very poor classes for which a lot of work was supposed to be done, but very little could really be done. Self-employed people, they had to eke out a living for themselves. But somewhere between the two, we found a niche. And the niche was the middle-income group women, particularly in an urban area like Mumbai, where we were located. And the special thing about this segment was that here we had a group of educated young women, more than the rich class or the poor class. The middle class people value education and would like to ensure that they would at least have a graduation. And when we surveyed the scene, we found that they did have graduation in most cases. So we floated the idea that we will run a program of 18 weeks for women who had graduation, had become householders because they had family obligations, had fulfilled those obligations to some extent, and now had precious little to do to self-actualize themselves. And we also felt that these women, having gained education in the university and having done with their basic family obligations, were losing out on their self-esteem because they felt that their education was not being utilized, and therefore their feeling of self-worth was declining. That's what came out during our interviews with these people. And therefore we decided to run this program, Women in Enterprise, getting these middle income group people with qualifications, free in the afternoons, and ready to take on the challenge. Most of them had a lot of diffidence, understandably, because they had lost out on their self-esteem. Probably as students they were vibrant and exuberant, but having been in the family, they had lost out quite a bit of their energy and enthusiasm. And therefore, when we started this program, we found in the very initial sessions this strange sense of diffidence among most of them. Some were exceptions. The fire hadn't quite died in them. But I do remember an exceptional case of a lady, a Muslim lady, who had parted from her husband, who joined this program in the hope that she will be able to resettle herself. And in the very first session, when we told them that they will have to identify at least 5 small businesses where they could be sent for internship, because entrepreneurship was much more about doing than about learning in the conventional manner. She was the one who said that she did not know even a single firm where she could go. She couldn't name even one. And she was joined by a few others who said that we should tell them the names of the firms which they could start with. We have certainly we were kind to them and we were empathetic to them. We understood their dilemmas and their difficulties. But at that stage, strategically we decided that we shall not oblige them. And therefore we told them that they would have to do it themselves. Although we had a list of the companies where they would go, we would expect a list from them over the next 5 days. And this lady was in tears because she said, look, I want to do this program, but I can't think even of one firm where I can go. I can't give you any names at all. I had a sense of pity on her. And I thought that one could help her out. But on a second thought, we decided that we shall not. And I said, you go ahead and find out. We are sure you would. And lo and behold, in just about 2 days after that, she came up with a list of 10 firms. And she was glowing with a sense of achievement because she said, look, I never thought of these earlier. They were all there in my repertoire. But it never occurred to me that these 10 firms could help me. And she was the first to come back. And we were filled with a sense of achievement and also hope for the future because we found a person regaining her self-confidence and self-esteem. And that I thought was the spirit in which any entrepreneurship effort had to be done. And from there on, she was a different participant. She showed a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of exuberance, a lot of initiative, all of which were there in her. But she had forgotten about all of them. She rediscovered herself. And that we thought was a great thing about entrepreneurship. It is not just a means of earning more, establishing oneself, doing well, and so forth. It is primarily a means of rediscovering oneself. There is nothing new that we had given her at that time, at that stage of the game. It was all in her, but she was not aware of them. And when she rediscovered herself, her potential, her knowledge, her context, her resources, she certainly knew no limits. And she was one of the best participants that we had in that program. I'm going back to history just to show how these kinds of programs start. Today, in the technical institutions, thanks to the Department of Science and Technology and other sources of support available, we are able to make a beginning. But that was a time when we had very skeletal support from the British Council. You know how niggardly the British can be. And I didn't draw upon any support from my own management. They paid some paltry fees, for participating in the program. But what drove us on was that sense of purposefulness of doing something worthwhile, which I think is a basic drive in any educator. I always say education is about hope. Everybody in the world might lose hope, as many people are doing now in the present scenario, particularly economic scenario. But the day educators also lose hope will be the doomsday, the end of the world, because it is hope that sustains education. The hope that someday people will come down, learn, and be better people, will grow. And I thought entrepreneurship was basically about growth. All of you are involved in entrepreneurship, and I'm happy to see that the movement has gained momentum. If you permit me the liberty of going back on history once again, I'd like to recall the program that we did on behalf of MDSA, the Association of Management Development Institutions in South Asia, with support from the Canadian Consortium of Management Schools, where we called in a group of almost 30 management teachers, including a couple of people from CIET now, who went through a program of 15 days focused on different aspects of entrepreneurship, including the different approach that institutions had to adopt to develop entrepreneurs. As it happens, many of them changed institutions, many of them changed their minds, some of them persisted. And I am so happy to see even now, here and there, some people from that group saying that they got their lesson in entrepreneurship in that program. And in this program we had 2 faculty from Canada, 2 from South Asia, which included me as well as another person from Bangladesh. It was a truly international faculty. But it was a a great experience on both sides as we could gather. And it was also to us the beginning of a movement to develop this idea of entrepreneurship among the management